Here's an application for an online wine store. It has an originating front-end PHP tier that calls a Node.js tier, which does most of the processing. In the business transaction scorecard, you can see that over 88% of the transactions are normal, but the 2.8% are slow, 3.8% are stalled, and 4.7% are generating errors. In this video, we're going to troubleshoot one of those stalled transactions to try to find out what's going on. To do that, click Troubleshoot Slow Response Times in the left navigation panel. Click the Slow Transactions tab if it's not already selected. In this tab, you see at the top there's a graph that shows the slow and very slow, if we had them. There are no very slow transactions here, but the slow and very slow installed transactions over time compared to the load up above in blue. At the bottom of this tab is the list of transaction snapshots for slow, very slow installed transactions. A transaction snapshot is a set of diagnostic data for a business transaction instance at a specific point in time. Throughout the AppDynamics UI, purple indicates a stalled transaction, orange means a very slow transaction, and yellow means a slow transaction. You can see these colors in the graphs, in the transaction scorecard, and in the icons in the transaction snapshot list. By default, a stalled transaction is one taking longer than 45 seconds. But you can configure all these thresholds, slow, very slow, and stalled, by clicking Configure Slow Transaction Thresholds in the left navigation panel. Back in the Slow Transaction Snapshot list, I'll click the Execution Time column header to sort the slow installed transactions in descending order by execution time, so the slowest ones rise to the top of the list. To examine one of these stalled transactions in the wine tier, click the transaction. Here's the transaction snapshot. Clicking the drill down button gets me the snapshot details. So here's the summary of the transaction. It was a stall. Here's the time that it took to execute, the time at which the transaction snapshot was taken, what the problem was. This is basically a summary of the configuration for the stall. The tier, the node, the business transaction, and so on. If I look at the exit calls tab in the summary, I see that there's an HTTP exit call that took 124 milliseconds to execute. So it's possible that this exit call is what is causing the transaction to stall. Sometimes it happens that the agent took a process snapshot at the same time as the transaction snapshot, although this is not always the case. When this happens, you can get a call graph for the Node.js process that this business transaction was executing by clicking the link to the process snapshot in the transaction summary, which is here. So here's the call graph for the process snapshot. You can scan through the process snapshot call graph looking at the execution times of the methods to identify which are the slow ones. Here's one, 46%. Let's take a look at that. can click the I at the end of the row to get more information about the method. So here you can see the self time on this method was 9%. This may be one of the methods contributing to the poor performance. Here's the summary of the method, including the line number of this call. For more information, read the AppDynamics documentation on transaction snapshots and process snapshots. And thanks for watching.